Hey everyone, Robert here, author of Expansion Mastery, the practical guide to living a fully engaged life. Are you ready to live your life to the fullest? Are you ready and willing to transform yourself and your life from ordinary to extraordinary? Welcome, my friends, to the Fully Engaged Life. Welcome back to the show, everyone. So, I'm recording this episode on January 31st, and this is the last day of the first month of 2020. Can you imagine? An entire month has already flown by. Many people are saying that they feel very overwhelmed and taxed just by daily events. And this is certainly understandable because this is in the energy right now. As I stated earlier, before this year, the energy is going to provide us with opportunities to accomplish some amazing things. But we are going to have to be more focused and more determined than possibly ever before. And this first month alone has already offered my wife and I incredible opportunities in which we were challenged to keep our vibration at a very high level in order to get the outcome of particular situations we were looking for. And to do so requires an incredible amount of mindfulness that does not allow for even the slightest of distractions. So keep this in mind as you go through this year, and make sure that you realize that the things that you're trying to accomplish in life may take just a little bit more effort than normal, but that's okay. Push through this. Here's an example. We've been noticing that there are a lot of random power outages in the area, just for a couple of hours or 3 hours or whatever. And this creates a temporary obstacle for various businesses and individuals. We've seen other businesses where, our ovens just stopped working. So instead of closing, they serve cold foods. This is the idea right now. This is what we have to do. When we encounter these obstacles, we have to find a way around them and keep going. We have to know when to persist, and we have to step up to become a little more persistent than usual. And it's okay. Just be aware of this. It doesn't mean everything is hard or anything is terrible. That's not it at all. Like I said, there's a potential for some amazing things to happen. My wife and I have already been having some wonderful adventures just in this month alone, and some great things. And other things have been a bit of a nuisance to accomplish. But the important thing is that we stay focused and we channel those efforts into keeping a high vibration and an open heart, and smile and laugh. See, this is another way for us to understand what it is to be a spiritual warrior. We have to go with the flow. Sometimes the energy is easy and relaxed and in our favor, and sometimes it's a little messier. And we have to be able to adapt without complaint, without judgment, accepting it for what it is, and just buckle down and push through to make sure that we are still accomplishing all the things that we are looking to accomplish in our life. You may be noticing this in your spiritual practices. You may have found that in order to sit and do meditation or your breathing practices or whatever it is you're working on, may have been a bit challenging to do that in the month of January. That's okay. That's all right. Don't worry about it. But the key is to try and get through it, to persist in spite of the way things are, just doing at least something, doing whatever you can manage to do. If you can do this instead of neglecting it or hiding away, then you will keep your success moving forward. So Last episode, I finished a 27-part series covering all of the challenges in my book, Expansion Mastery. I finished with the practice of no mind, commonly referred to as mushin in Japanese, and meditation itself and how those things interact. So I want to take a moment just to address a common fear that's associated with attaining this state of mind, or rather, stateless state of no mind. What I hear most often is people shy away from this particular practice because they are afraid that their mind is going to get lost in the endless void, that they'll just kind of drift away and never come back into conscious living again. This is certainly not true. And anyone who has attained some of the levels of no mind can attest to this. In the earlier stages of no mind, you're just able to shut off your thinking. And yes, in the beginning, that can be rather unnerving to all of a sudden just have the activity in your mind cease. I know it freaked me out the first time that I really accomplished it, but then it also felt so good that I craved it and I had to go back and I had to get it better. And you're never lost. Nobody has ever gotten lost this way in this sort of meditation of no mind. It doesn't really happen. You see, it can't happen because when you go beyond your mind into this expansiveness, this void, then you're touching base with your true consciousness. That is the void. That is what's out there. See? So there is nothing to fear and absolutely everything to gain. And I find it interesting because today people tend to be afraid of attaining this state of no mind, and yet at the same time, they're feeling so lost and purposeless that they don't realize their mind is already lost. It's very sad because I hear people talking and I discuss things with people, and so many of them are saying that they just don't feel that there's any point to life anymore, that they don't have any purpose, they don't have any passions. And see, this is when the mind is truly lost. It's actually your consciousness, your true self is found through no mind. This is what it means to be lost in mind. When you are living this way, you're confused, you're detached from any interests or passions. This is when we get lost. So what I would like to give you in this particular episode is the antidote to that. The antidote is simple. The way to give yourself a purpose is through finding a way to follow. Now, what I mean by the term way is that I'm referring to a way of living your life, because this is essential to living a fully engaged life. So let's examine what this is encompassing here. The Japanese refer to this as do. Right? So if we're talking about martial arts, we may talk about Budo. Not to get into martial arts here, but to illustrate the point better for you, Budo it quite literally can be the way of martial arts or the martial way. However, what it is implying, what it actually means, is that you are living your life through martial arts. It's the same if you use chado, right, which is the way of tea. Then you live with the precepts of the tea ceremony and becoming mindful. And see what I'm getting at? The Chinese usually refer to this as the Tao, which, again, literally means the way. And this is referring to understanding how everything in nature and the universe works, and experiencing it as naturally and as freely as we possibly can. So let's take a look at this as far as our own life. I highly recommend that you find a particular do. find something that you enjoy doing and make it part of your life. See, this is what the Japanese do so incredibly well. They will take something like flower arranging or drinking tea or enjoying incense or martial arts or whatever it is. I mean, the list goes on. And to them, they make an art form out of it and they live their life in accordance with it. So we learn to live in a state of mindfulness through doing so. And this doesn't mean that it has to be anything Japanese. It could be hiking a mountain, it could be kayaking, it could be dancing, it could be yoga, it could be whatever you want it to be. Find something and bring that into your life and then live your life accordingly. Use it as a way to become more peaceful, more mindful, and to live more fully engaged. So I'll give you an example because I've been a martial artist now for about 40 years, and my wife and I live according to Budo. So we live according to certain principles. We have particular precepts that we enjoy. Things like living in a sense of respect, loyalty, trust, perseverance, patience, courage, humility, things like this. These are precepts that we use to live our lives by. And we use exercises such as particular stretching, movement, maybe Tai Chi, Qigong, things like that. So we use things that we have learned through the martial arts that are designed to help us stay physically and mentally healthy. So we're always stretching, we're up moving, working with our body and our mind. So living life through the martial way allows us to stay physically healthy and mentally sharp. It allows us to protect our health and our humanity. And then, of course, yes, we train in defensive techniques and striking techniques and all kinds of things. This, too, keeps us strong, keeps us active, keeps us sharp, and it keeps us so that we are able to defend ourselves if the need should ever arise. Hopefully it doesn't, but if it does, we are able to do so. And there's this common belief that you can't have spirituality, you can't be spiritual and still engage in some martial aspect, that it's all or nothing. This is nothing but ego. One extreme or the other is a sign that your mind is still dominated by the ego, and it is through that egoic lens that you perceive life. This is not true. It's never been true. This is not my opinion. This is a stated fact from spiritual systems dating back thousands and thousands of years. Because we can use that strength that we attain from being warriors to help us in our spiritual practices. And then instead of living life in constant fear, we have the courage to go out and actually embrace life, to embrace the adventures that life has to offer. So we attain health benefits, both physical and mental. We attain a sense of strength, inner strength, as well as outer strength, that we are able to use in all facets of our life. And we are able to embrace life instead of fearing it. Through this, we've also attained a degree of capability in healing ourselves, one another, others. And we do this through energy healing as well as through our study and application of traditional Chinese medicine, specifically herbology. So we make specific tinctures, wines, and liniments that help us stay healthy inside and out. It's through martial arts that we are able to, on a daily basis, practice things such as respect, which carries over into all facets of our life, because we live in a state of mutual respect for one another, and we do our very best to be respectful of others. And through this, it allows us to practice appreciation, and it allows us to practice dissolving the ego. See, this is why having a way of life is so important. And just saying, well, I'm just going to relax and sit around, that's not the same. Nor is engaging in a sport. Sport isn't a way of life. A sport is actually a distraction that builds upon the ego. So we have to be careful. Now, if it's something that you like kayaking, fine. If you want to engage in a race or something now and then, that's fine too. But make sure that you go into the kayaking because you have an affinity to be out in nature, to be on the water, to experience all it has for the adventure of it. See what I'm saying? It needs to be deeper. It can't be a superficial thing. If it's a superficial thing that you're doing, just something you do, that is not a way. Okay? A way is something you become. It becomes such a deep part of you and your life that there is no longer a separation. It's very different from just something you do. I hope I'm making that clear because it's a very, very crucial point. When you live your life in accordance with a way, everything in your life serves that way. For instance, we have to be mindful of what we put into our bodies, the foods we eat. That's why we avoid fast foods, processed foods, any junk food. We do our best to avoid as much as we possibly can. We choose to eat fresh food, things that are good for us, things that are capable of helping us be healthy so that we can continue to practice and train. We don't smoke so that our physical body stays healthy. When you start to work with whole body movement like a dancer or a martial artist, and you're dealing with the neuromyofascial webbing, you understand that these long fascial chains and things are extremely important. And one of the worst things you can do is smoking. Another thing that is terrible for that and your overall health is being sedentary, avoiding exercise, regardless of how old you are. And it's more important to get up and move around and exercise, especially walking, as you get older. So we're careful what we put into our body. And the same goes for our mind. This is why we don't do drugs. We don't have, neither one of us are on any prescription drugs, which helps keep our body and our mind healthier. And we don't do any illicit or recreational drugs, because that certainly does not help your mind stay healthy. And you're not able to engage in the focus and concentration that is necessary to succeed in meditative practices. You're not even capable of engaging real meditation or attaining no mind because you are altering the chemical composure of your brain, and that has a negative impact on your mind. So living in accordance with the way that we do. See, everything in our life is meant to support that. And in turn, it supports us, our health, our well-being, and our ability to live a fully engaged life. Now, this doesn't mean you have to do whatever this is, the specific activity 24 hours a day, but you live what it stands for. You live in a way that supports it. You live in accordance to its precepts to benefit yourself and those around you. Expansion mastery is a do, is a way. If you follow the challenges in the book, if you pay attention to the way things are written, and you're able to incorporate them into your life, the expansion mastery is a system and a do, a way of life. This is one that we incorporate into our life every single day. Everything in that book is something that I and my wife live every single day. And you see, that's also the secret to success. Because if these things, these practices, these challenges or meditative practices, meditation, if these things are just something you do once in a while, just something you dust off and play with like a toy and then put away and forget about for a while again, you'll never succeed. I know that's unfortunate to hear, but it's the truth, and I'm going to share the truth with you. So if you are engaging these things every day with a sense of consistency, and it's just part of what you do and who you are. It's not something that you engage in once in a while. Oh, I should probably, do an exercise, or I should probably engage in a spiritual practice. You'll never make any progress in any facet of anything that way. So by looking at these things and making them a sort of dull, we are able to live them and thereby become far, far more successful with them. And this allows us to drop any sense of resistance. You know what I'm talking about. I don't think I feel like doing that today because I'm tired, or I didn't get much sleep, or this is sore, or, whatever it is. Excuses, right? We have a tendency to make excuses. But when it's something you're living, when it's your way of life, those excuses just dissolve away because it's simply how you live. If you want to achieve success, if you want to attain a sense of mastery, this is the big secret. This is what you need to employ. Now, I've shared with you my path, my way of living, my way. That doesn't mean it has to be your way. See, this is the wonderful thing about life. This is why it's such an amazing adventure, because this is where you decide for yourself what your way is. If you join me in Expansion Mastery and live through Expansion Mastery, awesome. Love it. Love it. Just fills my heart. If you decide you want to do that through martial arts, fantastic. It doesn't have to be any of the things that I do. Those are simply the things that work for me. Find something. Find something that suits you, that makes you feel good, that you want to dedicate yourself to, that you want to live by. Make it something substantial, not superficial. And then whatever that is for you is awesome. This is what is really meant by living your truth. And that has nothing to do with your opinion shaping reality. It has nothing to do with your opinion at all. Living your truth is something real. It is about finding your passion, your purpose in life, and then living it to the fullest, embracing it. And it opens up your life in a way that you may not be able to even comprehend right now. It allows you to feel something you may not have felt in a long time. Personal fulfillment. And let's face it, that's a good feeling. So this is the idea. Find a way of life for you. And then live it fully. Embrace it. And you will come to know what it is to live a fully engaged life. Please make sure to visit me at www.expansionmastery.com. Grab your autographed copy of Expansion Mastery there, as well as my newly revised and expanded ebook, and you'll be able to get the Breathing Mastery audio program very soon. So make sure that you visit the website often. There's a lot of really good articles in the blog section for you too. As always, please share this podcast with others and help them get authentic spiritual practices and information. And do all the other social media stuff, the subscribes, the likes, the comments, all that stuff. And I still want to thank all of you who are doing so. That's making a huge difference. And that lets this information to spread to people who truly need it. Until next time, my friends, I wish you the very best in your practices and your life. Take care.